Hello, and welcome to the Cioffi Brothers podcast. I'm Ken.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be doing two separate reviews. I'm going to be reviewing Day of the Tentacle, Remastered.
And I will be taking a look at Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS.
So I'm going to start off with Day of the Tentacle. Day of the Tentacle Remastered is running on my MacBook Pro, running Windows 10, just for the specifications to everyone. And let's dive right into it. So pros, remastered art. I mean, that's the first thing. You know, the original game had, the pixel art, which was beautiful pixel art, but they've gone through and they've remastered it. I don't know if they're using vector-based images or what, but it's real smooth, it's real clean, and it's just a really nice transition. The original game really kind of aped off of that, Text Avery style, real kind of crazy, wacky stuff.
That was very popular in the day with... Because for those of you who are unaware, Day of the Tentacle is a point-and-click adventure game, and came out around the same time where these were very popular. Sam and Max,
utilizing the Scum engine.
Sam and Max, Grim Fandango. What is the other?
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island, Road Rage, I think was one of them. But
I'm not familiar with that one.
It was a guy. Well, whatever. But yeah, it's one of those point-and-click. Little before my time, but was hugely popular around your time.
Right around my age. When I hit the sweet spot there in terms of age and stuff like that.
When I was growing up, my point and clicks were Pajama Sam.
Pajama Sam, which I played those. They were fun games.
They are. They're fun little
The point and click adventures, are definitely seeing a bit of a resurgence right now. In terms of popularity, I know Telltale Games is really kind of mopping up with that. They did a Walking Dead one. They're doing a Batman one.
They've done Walking Dead. They've done Game of Thrones. They did their own The Wolf Among Us. They did a Borderlands one. They're doing the Batman one.
Right. The point is that these games, when done properly, are a lot of fun.
And going back to what you said, when done properly with the artwork, can really be... It doesn't have to be this cutting-edge 3D game.
No, it doesn't.
It can be just nice, quaint graphics.
What you have is something that really feels a lot more like an interactive cartoon, which, growing up, that's something that was just so, appealing.
Once again, in the 90s, where there was that cartoon renaissance, where you really had some of the best TV shows to come out
cartoons, absolutely.
Some of the best cartoons to come out of that era.
Yeah.
So to be able to play something like that was just like mind-boggling.
Sure, absolutely.
Nice.
Great new interface. The interface for it is just really nicely done. They cleaned things up a little bit. They added a wheel to the scroll wheel that lets you wheel through the options. But then likewise, you could just switch over to kind of the classic interface in terms of clicking on, look at this, play with that, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So retro mode, which is something that we did see a little bit implemented in the. Sorry, I'm drawing a complete blank tonight. The Master Chief Collection. You had the opportunity to go back to the original Xbox graphics for the first.
With just like literally press a button. You were done.
Seamless.
Switch was seamless, which was nice.
They implemented something similar here, which was very, very cool. With the touch of a button, you can switch from the modern, updated, remastered graphics right back to the classic pixel art version, and the same music as well. They've remastered the music, so you have that old school feel of being on, like, I could just remember playing it on, like, our old Dell.
The old white Dell with a Pentium 2 processor.
Maybe didn't even have an actual speaker, but was using like the computer speaker to put out these beep boops or whatever.
Chip-tone sounds that were famous in the day.
So it was very nice. And one of the things that they added within the new UI is that they color coded it to each person. So you have your three main characters. You have Hoagie, you have Bernard, and Laverne. Those are the three main characters that you play with. And when you switch back and forth to each character, the interface that you use changes slightly to go along with each character.
Making it just a little easier, I'm assuming. I didn't play Day of the Tentacle. This was more your thing than mine. Right. So just making it a little bit easier almost just to navigate.
It's not even fully necessary, but it's a nice added touch. Just showing that there's that thought being put into the characters and into the interface, because it's did they need to do it? No. Was it nice that they did it? Absolutely.
Now I gotta ask before we move on, was Maniac Mansion playable in the remaster?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it? They kept it in.
It was awesome. It's a nice little Easter egg, and it was a nice little Easter egg at the time when this kind of stuff really just wasn't done. The fact that they included... So, little background. Day of the Tentacle is technically a sequel to a game called Maniac Mansion.
Spiritual sequel. It's a spiritual sequel, though, because it's not a direct sequel.
It is a direct sequel. Bernard is in the original Maniac Mansion.
Oh, is he? Once again, not that I played either of them.
And the Edison family... there's a character who collects stamps in Day of the Tentacle who was a part of the original Maniac Mansion crew, and the professor guy there, Crazy Fred. So the thing that's very interesting is that when you played the original Day of the Tentacle, you go into a specific room where I think it's Crazy Edison is he's collecting his stamps. And there's a computer in that room, and if you access that computer and boot that computer up, it actually has a fully playable version of the original Maniac Mansion game. Now, I've never actually sat through and gone through the whole Maniac Mansion game. Day of the Tentacle is really the one that kind of captured my heart. But it's really nice that they included they kept that Easter egg, because you would have really felt like something was missing if you went in that room and tried to do it, and it wouldn't let you do it.
Yeah, especially because it's such a well-known Easter egg now. Exactly. If you don't put it in, it's like you're doing the game disservice.
Now, I will say the Maniac Mansion was not remastered, but just the fact that they included it was nice.
That it's
and it is like an achievement that comes up if you play it through Steam.
Okay.
So it's kind of neat. So moving on to the cons. So one of the things that when you open it up is there's a new title screen, and I had a really hard time navigating it. I just wanted to start up the game and play the game, and it wasn't really clear, because what they did is they took, in classic Day of the Tentacle fashion, is they have basically this picture, and there's different things within the picture that you click on in order to activate these different functionalities. Finding the special additional things like director's commentary and stuff like that. All of that stuff was relatively easy to find, but just finding the button to just press play and start the game was not necessarily as intuitive as you might have wanted it to be. So that was a little tough. As I mentioned earlier, we talked about the scrolling options. It didn't always work real well. It was very frustrating trying to find what it is that I was looking for, that I often, I basically play the game in classic style, where it's very easy to just do, pick up this, play with that, or, pick up this, use that, whatever. It was just much easier than trying to use the scroll and try to find the right thing.
Maybe not implemented as well as it could have been.
Yeah, it wasn't the right way to play the game. Yeah, I appreciate the thought that went into it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
For me anyway. So the new style, one of the things that I really praised was this new artwork that they did for the game. They completely remastered everything. But one of the things that I will say is that it doesn't always work. Sometimes it kind of looks like a flash animation due to the fact that when you played it and it's this pixel art, it works because it's pixelated, and it's you can see that the animations are going through the different pixels to try to make this animation. Unfortunately, when they upgrade the graphics, it makes it look a bit like a flash animation. It's a little jerky. And the scaling can be really odd sometimes. So at one point you have characters that walk away from the camera. In the original game, what would happen is they would break down to less and less pixels until you had a really basic rendition of the character. In like a handful of pixels as opposed to when they're up close to the camera and there's a lot more of pixels to work with. what they ended up doing is just taking the regular model and just shrinking it down as it went away, which is what you can do in Flash, Flash animation. And it gave the effect of just making it look weird because it looked out of place with the backgrounds that were there, because you had lines that were up close, relatively broad strokes that when you shrink it down end up looking very fine, and it makes it look like the character's out of place. So I kept running the line between is this retro in what they're trying to do, are they trying to maintain the retro feel, or is it being lazy? So, so that's basically what it comes down to. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much about the gameplay and stuff like that because this is an older, game in its, original implementation. So, I mean, that's, kind of a horse that's been beaten to death. I will say that from the perspective of somebody who played the original and, went through this, I mean, the magic's still there. It's a nice nostalgia trip. I do honestly think that people who had never played it before were to go through it, I think they would very much enjoy it because, there are people who sometimes the graphics can be a barrier in going into those games, and they're like, I just can't get into it. They cleaned up the graphics, they cleaned up the audio, the gameplay is solid. The gameplay is
classic point and click.
It's classic point and
adventure
click
game.
And I mean, there's a reason why it was so successful initially, and there's a reason why it was successful enough to consider doing a remastered version to begin with. So basically, we come down to my grade for Day of the Tentacle Remastered, and I got to give it a B+. It's a solid B+. I mean, I had a few gripes here and there, but like I said, the magic is still there.
Worth the cost of admission.
Absolutely. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not an expensive game.
I think it's only like $10-15 on Steam.
If it's
you
even
get a
that.
Steam sale, and boom, it's down to like $5.
Absolutely, and it's a beautiful game. It's a fun game. It's it's worth picking up.
All right.
So let's move on to Alex's review.
My review of Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS. Now, I'm playing it on a new 3DS with the 3D turned off. Just for a little context, I know with the older 3DS systems, it does not run nearly as well, and with the older 3DS systems, it actually does not have 3D functionality.
Okay, is this considered XL? The size?
Yes, this is the XL version. Okay. This is the XL version.
You did say it's you did mention it's the new 3DS, which I think only comes in this size anyway, right?
It depends. Some of the special, you can get a regular sized one with some of the special editions.
Okay.
In the States, but Japan has it just sold as is unit, just with the unit itself, which we don't get in America for some reason. I don't know why, but I do have one of the small 3DSs, the red and blue edition one.
Okay.
But this is a 3DS XL. Seems appropriate. It is the Majora's Mask edition, which I love. It's been one of my favorite systems. But that's a different story. So, going on to Hyrule Warriors Legends, for those of you who don't know, it is a game made by the same people who make Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Warriors of Orochi, all the Warriors games, or the Musou games in Japan, and it is styled after that.
Yeah, so for someone like me who's not familiar with those games, I'm very familiar with Legend of Zelda. Is this a fighting game? Is it like a tournament survival type thing? What is the gameplay like?
It's very difficult. If you've never played a Warriors game, it's very difficult to say, but basically you're dropped in this arena style area, pretty large area, and there are just waves and waves of just random small enemies, and you're given some objectives, and then you go to the objectives. So is this like in... I mean, let's just say it is not Legend of Zelda. This is not the Legend of Zelda. Would you
say it's similar to in Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, where you're dropped in that hole and you have to fight through the waves of enemies to get to the bottom? Would that be... Not at all? Not at all. Okay.
No, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to explain because Dynasty Warriors games are in almost a breed of their own. They're hack and slash games.
Okay.
They're pretty basic in terms of goals and story and all that sort of stuff.
So
Not
is there a
it's
story?
There is a story.
Loose story, maybe?
There's actually more story in this that's more easily followed than any of the other Dynasty Warriors games. Me being a fan of the Dynasty Warriors, more specifically the Warriors Orochi games, which I love. So there is more of an easier story to follow in this, but there is a story. It's there. Maybe not as good as like Legend of Zelda, but it's there.
Okay.
But so moving on to what I like the most about it, the biggest thing is it is jack full of content. Once again, for those of you who don't know, this Hyrule Warriors was a Wii U game that was ported to the 3DS, which is a huge process. And when they ported it, nothing was left behind.
Okay, great.
All the characters are there, and actually new characters are there.
I was gonna say, you get in this game, if I understand correctly, you get all of the DLC that was
You do.
a part of so it's basically like almost like a Game of the Year Ultimate Edition or whatever.
This is like the complete edition of Hyrule Warriors, and say what you will about Nintendo, they are still supporting it after it being released back in April. It is still getting DLC packs. Just got the Link's Awakening pack just got dropped. I don't know how that's a story for another day, but but yeah, there is so much stuff to do. I put hours upon hours upon hours into this game, and I still have barely scratched the surface. I haven't gotten all the characters yet, haven't gotten all the weapons yet, but there is just so much stuff to do in the game, and that's what makes it really nice, actually this slides into my next point, the fact that it is a full Wii U game on the 3DS. That's awesome.
That's great, yeah.
Next thing I have to say, I personally think the game works best on a 3D system, and I think that's probably the best part. Well, not even the 3D system. The fact that it works on a handheld the best. It's got that pick up and play mentality. I have that pick up and play mentality. So you can just pick it up, go a few rounds, put it down, come back from a hard day at work, play a little bit, half an hour before you go to sleep or something, without having to boot up the Wii U, get in there, fight, save, turn off, repeat, that sort of stuff. I think it works better on a handheld. I actually think all the Warriors games work better on handhelds, but that's more of a personal preference than anything else.
Because you have that sleep mode. You can just pop it open, play, and close it back up.
Yeah, which, cool. I've gotten way too used to, and going back to old Game Boys, it shows how used I am to just being able to close the system, set it down, and come back to it later.
You mean I have to save? You mean this game doesn't save?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that it is. Again, one of the other pros that I had was the fact that I was talking about all the characters it has. Well, each character has its own levels, own experience base, and they all level up to 99. So to level every character up to 99 is a monumental task, and that's awesome. That gives you just more stuff to do. I think the theme of my pros list is there's just so much to do. With games nowadays that are like 5 hours long and you're done, it's refreshing to have a game, especially on a handheld system, that you can play for
Well, it sounds to me like you're touting the replay build, the replay value. It's you can go through and play as this character and then play as that character, level this character up, level that character up.
And they're all unique. They all have their own unique fighting styles. You got Link, who's very straightforward, easy to use with his sword. Then you got Ganon, who is a little more of a brute, who you can have his two swords, or he has the trident of power, which is cool.
Really?
He does. It took me a long time to get the trident of power, but I finally got it, and it's awesome. Which is a nice throwback to other Legend of Zelda games, this is chock full of enemies from Legend of Zelda, which it's a Legend of Zelda game, so I guess it should be there. And it gets down to, I guess my final pro is it's just mindless fun. You know, sometimes you just got to sit down and you don't want to be engrossed in this, story or this world. You sometimes just want to sit down and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just want to sit there and say, all right, I'm going to sit here, play for a half an hour. If I get bored, I'll just close it up and I'll come back to it a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that sort of thing that I love about it. So with the good, the bad, my cons, I'd have to say, usually not a huge stickler, but the graphics, just, you can see that they downgraded it a whole lot from the Wii U. The Wii U version looks beautiful. Graphics in the 3DS version, they're not as great.
Yeah, so something you would kind of expect, but still kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I guess. With the characters that I was talking about, not all of them are all that fun.
Now, how many characters are in there so far? Do you know, like rough estimate?
I want to say like 15 or 20.
Okay.
But you have characters that are great, like I was saying, Link and Zelda and Ganon, but then you have characters like Tingle. Yeah. So
Does he do balloon attack?
He does like balloon stuff. I actually haven't unlocked him yet because I really don't care about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got characters like, even on the front page, you see you got Tingle.
Kula Limpa or something like that.
Yeah,
Isn't that
his magic words that you can't steal. Enemies tend to pop in every once in a while, which once again has to do with the limitations of the system in itself. Kind of sucks, but
so they just randomly like appear out of
they'll
nowhere.
just randomly appear in front of you, and the way the game works, by the time you're slashing and they appear, they're already dead.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So some of the objectives in the game can also be unclear.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you to go to a certain place or do a certain thing, and you're like, well, where's this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? What's going on? I don't know what to do. And then you're failed.
Yeah.
And then you have to start over again.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
That can be frustrating.
But overall, I enjoyed the game, and I'd have to say my final score for it
what's your
would
final
definitely be a B-. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can pick it up. You can actually pick it up cheaper than the Wii version. Wii version's going for $60. 3DS version goes for $40. Has more content. If you have the 3DS and you're looking for a fun game to play, it's just fun. Just a fun game. I mean,
very cool. So it's just a must-have for any Zelda fan.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it's definitely a must-have for Dynasty Warrior fans, because it's definitely more of the same, and anyone who wants to try something different. I picked it up because I'm a fan of both the series, Legend of Zelda and Dynasty Warriors, so it was really a no-brainer to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a fun game. Anyone who's just looking for something fun and mindless to play, I'd say get it.
Great, very cool. Well, that's great. Well, I think that basically wraps us up for today.
It does.
So we want to thank everyone for joining us today on the Cioffi Brothers podcast, and we're going to see you next time.